Hello and welcome to this election special broadcast at ThePrint. We are coming to you on the day that the results of the Karnataka Assembly elections have been declared and the Congress party has sailed through in the state, getting a comfortable majority. On the other hand, what has not been discussed much are the local level polls in Uttar Pradesh, where the BJP, after it got routed in Karnataka, would have some glimmer of hope. So what we are going to be discussing today is what is the way ahead for the BJP after this, what next for the BJP after the Karnataka results. But we also see that they have largely held on to Uttar Pradesh, which is their stronghold. So for the discussion today, we have our political editor, DK Singh, senior correspondent with us, Mr. Shanker Arnimesh, who covers the BJP, and Professor Chandrachur Singh, who is going to be taking all your questions and also analyzing all these results for us. शंकर, पहले आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ क्योंकि पूरा दिन हमने कर्नाटका के बारे में ही बात किया है। यूपी में जो लोकल बॉडी पोल्स थे, क्या पोल्स थे, उसमें क्या अभी नंबर्स कितने क्या आए हैं, थोड़ा हमारे व्यूअर्स को अगर आप एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ।
देखिए, यूपी के जो अब तक के नतीजे आए हैं या रुझान उसको कह लें कि अभी तक पूरी तरह से फाइनल नहीं हुआ है, उसमें 17 म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन के इलेक्शन थे। सब जगह पे बीजेपी लीड कर रही है, 17 के 17। वहां पे कहीं भी समाजवादी पार्टी नहीं, कहीं भी बीएसपी नहीं। नगर पालिका परिषद वहां पे 199, जहां पे बीजेपी 73 पे इस समय लीड कर रही है, समाजवादी पार्टी 28 पे लीड कर रही है, बीएसपी 18 पे लीड कर रही है। उसी तरह से नगर पंचायत की सीट है, वहां पे भी बीजेपी लीड कर रही है। देखिए, यूपी के इलेक्शन का जो बड़ा नैरेटिव था, आपने वो योगी आदित्यनाथ का वो फेमस डायलॉग सुना था, यूपी में नो कर्फ्यू, नो दंगा, यूपी में सब चंगा। और उससे पहले ही आपने देखा कि अतीक अहमद और उनके भाई का वो एनकाउंटर हुआ। तो यूपी इलेक्शन का जो नैरेटिव था वो क्राइम, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर और किस तरह से यूपी में बुलडोजर बाबा की जो इमेज है। देखिए, अगर आप कर्नाटक और यूपी को लिंक करें, दोनों स्टेट के जो लोकलाइज इलेक्शन है उनको रीड करें, तो कहते हैं ना कि एक कंपनी जो बाटा कंपनी है वो कई नंबर के जूते बनाती है, 6 नंबर, 5 नंबर, 4 नंबर, 3 नंबर। एक ही नंबर का जूता वो नहीं बनाती कि 10 नंबर का जूता है, ये सब लोग इसी जूते को पहनेंगे, इसी नाप के पहनेंगे। उसका मैसेज ये है कि आप जब कैंपेन की स्ट्रैटेजी को अलग अलग लोकलाइज इलेक्शन की स्ट्रैटेजी को अलग रखते हो, स्टेट असेंबली की स्ट्रैटेजी अलग रखते हो और नेशनल इलेक्शन की स्ट्रैटेजी को अलग रखते हो, तो उसके फायदे नुकसान अलग अलग होते हैं। अब बीजेपी ने क्या किया कि आप देखिए, कर्नाटक में उन्होंने लोकल बॉडी के स्टेट असेंबली इलेक्शन को भी उन्होंने नेशनल इलेक्शन की तरह लड़ा। यूपी की इलेक्शन की अगर हम बात करें तो यूपी के इलेक्शन में योगी आदित्यनाथ ने 50 से ज्यादा रैलियां की, 55 रैलियां उन्होंने की। अखिलेश यादव ने महज 7 रैली की। तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि बीएसपी और एसपी किस एनर्जी के साथ योगी से लड़ना चाहती थी। जब आप कैंपेन ही नहीं करोगे तो वोटर कहां से आपके पास आएगा वोट डालने के लिए। दूसरा, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर प्रॉब्लम जो वहां पे एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम है, जो कि सिंक था। आप देखें कि यूपी असेंबली में भी, वेस्टर्न यूपी में जाटों के प्रोटेस्ट के बाद भी महिलाओं ने निकलकर बीजेपी के लिए वोट किया, इसलिए क्योंकि वहां पे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम थी। बिहार में नीतीश कुमार और बीजेपी के लिए जनता ने इसलिए वोट किया कि वहां पे लालू का जंगल राज था। लेकिन अगर कर्नाटक में उसी जंगल राज के नैरेटिव को आप रेप्लिकेट करेंगे जहां पे जंगल राज है नहीं, तो वहां पे नहीं चलेगा। तो इसलिए आपको वहां की जो लोकल इश्यूज हैं उसके साथ में अपनी कैंपेन स्ट्रेटजी को सिंक करना पड़ेगा। तो जहां तक यूपी की बात है तो फिलहाल योगी जी का वहां पे बुलडोजर चल रहा है। 4.5 करोड़ वोटर्स थे इस इलेक्शन में, लोकल बॉडी के इलेक्शन में, जो कि 60 पार्लियामेंट्री कंस्टिट्यूएंसी को एक तरह से उनका फुटप्रिंट है। तो अगर आप देख लें कि अगर लोकसभा इलेक्शन जो बहुत नजदीक है, तो वहां पे जो बीजेपी का कैडर मोबिलाइजेशन था वो इस इलेक्शन के जरिए हो गया, उनके कार्यकर्ता उत्साहित हो गए, नतीजे भी अच्छे आ गए। तो योगी जी लोकसभा चुनाव के लिए, योगी जी तो सेफ हैं और उम्मीद की जानी चाहिए कि नरेंद्र मोदी और अमित शाह भी सेफ होंगे, कम से कम यूपी में।
So basically, Ishadrita, before we come to Professor Chandrachur Singh, just to give some perspective, because people may be wondering why we are talking about UP urban local body polls when you have this big Karnataka results coming today. So as Shanker has said, in UP urban local body polls also, you had 4.3 crore voters, just about a crore less than what you have in Karnataka. So in that context, we decided to have this, it was kind of mini assembly election for UP. So in the assembly election, we had 15 crore voters. It's about 4.3 crore voters. So we thought probably we'd talk a bit about that also. And of course, while talking about UP, you also know how the truer assembly by polls, the So assembly seat which was vacated, which got vacated because of disqualification of Azam Khan's son, has been won by Apna Dal, the BJP's ally. So it's like after the Rampur bypoll last year, they saw it's like 2/4 of Azam Khan basically demolished by the NDA there. Now let's go back to Professor Chandrachur Singh and hear his views on Karnataka.
So, Professor Singh, as Shanker was saying, that the BJP is known to have different strategies for different polls, right? So they know that all size doesn't fit all. So what went wrong in Karnataka? Why? I mean, they went in with this nationalistic, this national narrative, whereas the Congress was contesting on very hyper local issues. So what do you think went wrong for the BJP to actually go ahead with such a strategy?
Well, see, the answers are straightforward. My own understanding, and I think this is the general understanding, is that there was a huge anti-incumbency against the government. That's very clear. Now, merely because there is an anti-incumbency doesn't mean that a party will win elections, right, or lose elections, right? There are other factors which need to be brought in as well, right? I think the Congress party, as a change, did certain things which are ticked all the boxes. So when you go into elections, there are certain boxes which you need to tick. The BJP has been very good in ticking those boxes. I think the Congress for a change at least did certain things which is required. For example, they did not get into the, normally that happens everywhere, and the BJP is known for having a strict sense of discipline amongst party leaders. What you'll see is, despite two heavyweights in Karnataka, Siddaramaiah and DK Shivkumar, not much differences was played in between in public. So I think they ticked that box very well. They also tried to do a good kind of mathematical equations at the bottom, and they tried to wrap it up with some very pro kind of welfareistic measures, which is what the BJP has also been doing everywhere. So they have the caste calculations, but they wrap it up with some ideology, nationalism, the embalming of those mathematical equations. I think the Congress could do that, creating a larger, wider base of support system with, with Lingayats, with Vokaligas, as well as with the lower caste as well, right? Now, the third factor, the way the BJP went into the polls also helped the Congress in terms of, ensuring that the minority votes does not get split amongst other players. So it all goes to, which is where it did harm the prospects of the local party, which is the Janata Dal S, right? So if you look into the factors, anti-incumbency was one, but then you still, it's a full toss, but you still need to, hit it out of the park. So the full toss was there. What the Congress did well was combining all other factors which are required to run a successful poll, and I think the results are for everyone to see. So I think that is what, whereas if you look into the BJP in Karnataka, it is exactly what used to happen to Congress earlier. So there were factions and there were a lot of misgivings, the way in which Setter was sidelined, the way Yedurappa was, taken away. So which effectively, these were the issues which the Congress in other states would suffer from. I think there is kind of a, the wheel of democracy has gone the other way this time, at least in Karnataka.
There were two big things happening. First, everybody was talking about the kind of impact PM Modi will have. And second, whether this perceived alienation of Yedurappa, how will it work? Now look at the number of seats the BJP has got in Bombay, Karnataka, or Kittur, Karnataka. Out of 50, last time BJP had won about 30, and Congress got about 16 or 17. This time, Congress has got 33 out of those 50 in Kittur, Karnataka, that is the Lingayat belt. So obviously there has been a big breach in the Lingayat vote bank.
So that is DK also because I'm told Setter comes from the same community.
Yes.
And, though Setter may have lost his election, but the Lingayat community must have felt some kind of a humiliation there as well, right? And you can see it's not normal that the Lingayats and the Vokaligas will vote together. But the fact of the matter is that you also have this gentleman called DK Shivkumar. So, you require a strong person, a strong organization, you require issues, you require leaders, you require everything, local language. I think it's a good template for contesting elections. If you see the strategy of the Congress, they have learned lessons, and remember, who is the teacher? They have, right? If now the question is, will they be able to replicate this in other states, or will the BJP also learn some lessons from its own mistakes that they may have committed? That will determine the course of action in the way leading to the next Lok Sabha elections.
So we have a question from one of our viewers. His name is Ash, and he's actually circling back to Uttar Pradesh. So he's saying, what is going to be next on BJP's agenda after the setback in Karnataka? Additionally, has Yogi Adityanath fully secured the UP mandate for BJP? DK, if you could take that question.
Oh, no, Professor Singh, if you would like to take the question.
I mean, see, my understanding is that Yogi Adityanath will also have larger roles to play, and I'm sure every politician has ambitions to get into the national stage. What has happened in UP and what Yogi Adityanath, the way he's focused more on the local polls, means that he has secured that turf, which I think is very clear in terms of the kind of victories that he's now having. He wants to show to the world, and perhaps to be seen in the world, that yes, he stands on his own foot, and that he has his own cadre in the lowest rung possible in villages, in districts. So I think UP elections give one message that is very clear. It actually underlines the presence and importance and stature of a leader who's ready to not only deliver in the state, but also to firm up his positions at the national level.
And another lesson for the BJP here is you need to rely on and promote your regional leaders more and more. So in Assam, for instance, Himanta Biswa Sharma does not depend on PM Modi to win. Yogi Adityanath will no more depend on PM Modi to win. On the other hand, you have the way you have dealt with Yadurappa, the way you are dealing with Vasudha Raje in Rajasthan, and probably the way you are dealing even with Shivraj Chauhan. That does not work. So instead of depending totally on PM Modi, you should be better promoting regional leaders and start leaning on them instead of showing your kind of lack of faith in them and trying to put them into their place.
And essentially, DK, this is what federal politics is about. This is what the nature of the Indian state is, that you have national leaders dealing with national issues, and you have regional leaders who are more interested in local governance, who are more interested in securing the interest of the state. And that is what also gels well with India's developmental story. I mean, remember, if you don't have leaders with vision in the state, if you don't have leaders with mass base and with vision in states, perhaps this India story is not going to go very long, not going to travel that long distance. So it's very important, whichever party may govern at the national level, it's very important that those parties ensure that they have strong leaders in the states. And the leaders in the states will have to emerge out of the shadows of that national leadership or the BJP. That is what is being seen. At least the UP polls are telling us, the local panchayat elections, the municipal elections are giving that signal that yes, Yogi Adityanath has now come of age, and perhaps is ready to not only take command of the state government, but perhaps if need be, also play a larger role at the national level.
Even within the Sangh Parivar, certain sections were getting very uncomfortable the way the BJP was running its campaign and the way the BJP was playing politics in Karnataka. So weeks before the election, I was sitting with an RSS sympathizer, and he just tells me, it will be good if BJP loses there. What happened? They said everything that our party is doing there is against what has been taught to us by the RSS. He was an RSS sympathizer. So the BJP should lose to do better in future, because it's going the Congress way completely. And that's what happened in Karnataka.
So the next question from Saksham, who's again one of our subscribers, is asking, how will the Karnataka result impact opposition unity efforts by Nitish Kumar between Congress and non-UPA parties like the TMC, BRS, SP and the Aam Aadmi Party? Professor Singh.
I think, Ishadrita, I may have told you in some of the earlier conversations that we've had. See, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to the national government, the fact of the matter is that there has to be a party which has its organizational presence, or at least its acceptance, if not organizational presence, pan-India, right? This is a known thesis, perhaps part of the academic discourse. But the fact of the matter is, you require a party with that kind of a national presence to where other parties can coalesce around, right? So given the fact that the Congress itself was on the decline, I mean, I'm not saying that it has now risen to become the dominant player, but remember this, this is all about perception, isn't it? So now that the Congress has won an election on its own, perhaps it can go ahead saying that, look, we also have governments at least in 3-4 states, and perhaps the leader that we have has a national stature in that sense. So I would believe that the Congress will have to somehow accommodate those regional allies, and the elections of 2024 will basically between who accommodates the larger number of regional players in what ways and for how long. Remember 2014, 2019, the BJP went into the polls with a large number of regional players. Now, as we talk today, both the BJP and the Congress are not having those number of allies any longer, the regional allies, isn't it? It's a direct, is it going to be a direct fight? If there's a direct fight, as I would believe, the BJP will be well ahead. But if the Congress is able to hold on and create that kind of allies, the regional parties will approach will be more amiable to the Congress party, because the regional parties are generally against hegemons, right? The BJP over a period of time, believe it or not, has become an hegemon, and the regional parties are wary of it. Now, this is the scene, but then it will depend on the maneuvering skills of the Congress party, on its humility, on its the way it approaches the regional parties, the way it is able to accommodate them. All that will be required for the coming Lok Sabha elections, for the Congress to be leading it up. I would believe that the Congress would have a natural ambition of leading in a race in the next election.
Yeah, in that context, I'll actually go back to where Professor Singh left on the way Muslims voted in Karnataka. That's pretty important. Muslims, if you see in Karnataka, there is total consolidation. So if you see the JDS's vote bank coming down from 18% to 13% in this election,
yes.
It's not just Vocaligas leaving the JDS, Muslims deserted the JDS. Now, in other areas also, you see the Muslim, now you had SDPI had fielded 16 candidates. AIMIM had fielded just 2 candidates, but look at their vote share. AIM candidates, at one place it got a little over 5,000 votes, in another place it got just about 1,400 votes. SDPI, apart from a couple of constituencies where it got more than 10,000 votes, or more than 10% votes, all the SDPI candidates have got less than 3.5% votes. That tells you the story about Muslims coming back to the Congress, consolidating behind the Congress. And that will actually make other prospective alliance partners of the Congress think twice. Look at Akhilesh. In urban local body polls, Akhilesh the party has totally fizzled out. Now Akhilesh Yadav will have to think, can he afford to go all alone in 2024? Because if Muslims are consolidating behind a Congress or behind a national party, that's the Congress, Akhilesh will have to think twice whether you should have an understanding with the Congress, or you carry on with your callous approach that Congress is a burden. Same applies to other parties also. See, Mamata Banerjee, look at how she has reacted. She has said that, in the next, this is Karnataka election result is the beginning of the end of the NDA. Now it's like it's a kind of positive overture that is coming from Mamata Banerjee after a long time when you talk about the Congress. So when you talk about opposition unity efforts, this is the message from Karnataka for them.
That is very clear, DK. I mean, if you look into the history of Indian politics, you will understand, particularly after 1970s, with the rise of the regional parties, you'll understand that regional parties have, they are private fiefdoms, they are private, incorporations. That's correct. But the fact of the matter is the regional parties will always be opposed to any national party becoming that hegemonic, isn't it? Because they would want their share, they would want their seat, they would also want to defend their own fiefdoms, right? So that is why they would always be willing to be along with those people who can challenge the hegemony, right? I think that is an opportunity for the Congress, right? But that is easier said than done. I mean, the Congress will have to, be large-hearted, right? And one size fit all, as the correspondent that started the conversation here, one size fit all will not be the kind of trademark thing of the coalitions that will happen. So the Congress will have to get into relationships with regional parties on different levels in different states, right? So, for example, the Samajwadi Party may claim to be the representative of the minority votes in UP, and the Congress will have to leave space for that. Right? Or, for example, the Congress party can say, well, we are the representatives of the minority in Karnataka, so leave the others, please leave space for us, right? So I think multiple channels and multiple layers on which this can be stitched together will be required, or else it's not that easy. But yes, the signal and the hope is there that the Congress can lead up a coalition of regional parties, because that's when it will be able to muster support, some kind of a courage to give a fight to the BJP.
But one thing is very clear, there is not going to be a united national opposition front. That will not happen. That has to be state specific.
Yes. So different states, you'll have to have different combinations.
So next question is from someone whose username is STT. He's asking, are Indian voters becoming more populist and always looking for a strong leader at each level of their government? And he's asking this question since the BJP won in UP but lost Karnataka. Professor Singh.
Well, the nature of the Indian state is that India is a welfare state. If you look to your constitution, no matter we may have a discourse whether we like it or not, the fact of the matter is that somebody got a Nobel Prize saying that there's nothing called a free lunch, but the fact of the matter is that increasingly political parties do offer, all political parties offer all these kind of things to people, and people do accept it, right? I mean, look at the Congress campaign in Karnataka, 5 promises. And if you break it down, I mean, what are these promises meant for? Whom for? They're addressing the youth, they're addressing women, they're addressing the poor people, they're addressing different sections of society. And somebody told me that perhaps this is the way that the lesson that the Congress learned from the BJP is that, well, the youth needs to be targeted. Remember, Prime Minister Modi's national appeal has been more felt amongst the people who are in that age group of 22 to say 30. So I think the political parties will offer it, and so long as they will continue to offer it, people will continue to take it. So there's nothing wrong in it. In fact, whether remember, the oldies like us would always debate good economics, bad politics, bad economics, good politics. These are things of the past. Parties will offer it, people will take it. Remember, given the fact that, remember, India has a lot of imbalances in terms of its class structure, there will always be people who will be willing to take those offers and therefore would vote on it, right? So that's one part. What was the second question? I mean, what was the second part?
No, that's it. That's what he was asking. That, is it? I mean, does the results of the bypolls and Karnataka, because BJP won.
But is it only true of us? I mean, Ishadrita, have a look into politics as it operates in developed countries as well. I mean, I was for a long period of time in England, and even England, remember, the whole divide between the Conservatives and the Labour Party is basically on that. So, why would political parties come to power on what basis? Purely ideology? Well, no longer. It never did. Purely ideological parties do not fare very well in elections unless they also combine other things with it.
And the fact is, our voters are becoming more and more transactional.
Yeah. So you require 2 things: transactional leadership, but you also require somebody who can be at least emerge up as a transformationalist. Yeah. So the image should be of a transformationalist, whereas below that, there has to be transactions.
No, so the reason this whole thing about having a strong leader at each level came up, and actually the next question by Aditya is about that. So he's asking, do you think that the stature of Prime Minister Modi when it comes to winning local elections has diminished? Because we have seen in the past that the BJP has gone in with Prime Minister Modi as the only face, even in state elections, right? And there is this, like, in fact, even now in Karnataka, when we were traveling, there were a lot of BJP voters who in fact told us that they were voting on Prime Minister Modi's name. So do you think that now with this election, okay, BJP lost Himachal before this, where again, this was the strategy. Do you think that this whole thing that Prime Minister Modi can win us every election from Lok Sabha to municipality, you think that is kind of going down?
Ishadrita, I think to be fair to the Prime Minister has a lot of courage. The Prime Minister takes it to himself. The mere fact that the Prime Minister does not discriminate between local and the regional, and he gives everything that he can. So to be very honest and to be very fair to the Prime Minister leads the pack. However, as we all know, the voters are becoming more aware. In fact, voters have already become very aware, right? So they know that where they are voting and what they are voting for. So when it comes to the national elections, I mean, there's nobody nearer to the Prime Minister, right? And the Prime Minister, remember, also, I mean, we have a problem because we look into things from, from very objective point of view of victory and loss, right? I mean, my argument is that let's say if the Prime Minister had not been campaigning, what would have happened? The worst would have happened for the BJP. So it's not to say that the Prime Minister has lost his appeal or that. The Prime Minister still continues to hold and enjoy a lot of support pan-India, at least on the north side of the Vindhyas, he has a lot of support. The problem is that support also needs to be augmented by local leadership, regional leadership as well, right? Wherever so double engine is not in government, the double engine has to be in the organization as well. So wherever you have a double engine, organizationally, the BJP does very well, because then the Prime Minister rides on that and takes the wave in favor of the BJP. But where there's, you require two people to bat from two sides to score. Somebody will be, remember the classical way DK and I would remember in school days, you'll have to remember the commentators was a sheet anchor's role, right? So you need to have a sheet anchor role given to somebody at the regional level, and then you would have somebody hitting the ball across the park. So the Prime Minister will require to be doing that role, but then there has to be that, right? Unfortunately, the Congress had neither of the two. Right, the way the organization was, it had neither of the two, and that is why you'll see the state in which the Congress was. Now, at least the Karnataka template has meant that there is somebody who can do that sheet anchor role, and that therefore there is a national leader who, or at least can be projected that way. So I would not take Karnataka election to mean that the Prime Minister's image or his appeal has diminished. I think it remains intact. But then, yes, elections are, as I said, a combination of many factors, Ishadrita. You know that very well. Everybody knows that very well. It's not just what seems to be apparent is not that apparent. There are a lot of factors.
To supplement to what you are saying, I absolutely agree with you. Look at Karnataka. In Bangalore, there was so much of anti-incumbency. There was so much of anger and frustration with the BJP leadership there that, for the last 3 years, municipal corporation elections were not held. They have been pending. It was due in 2020. The BJP did not have the courage to hold those elections because they thought, they'll be routed. But look at the results now. Out of 28 seats in Bangalore, BJP has won 15. It's up from 11. BJP has not lost in Bangalore, where
yes,
the Prime Minister held 2 or 3 road shows, number of rallies. So he did make the difference, because if there were BJP's challenge going up from 11 to 15, obviously something has happened, and that at a time when you were not even willing to hold civic polls. So he has made the difference. But here comes the moot point. Now, can he, if you're losing an election, can he really come and swing it for you? No. He has a limited appeal in assembly elections, in local elections, yes. So as we were discussing with the party, Congress strategists there. Now, he was saying that, look, in the past 6 months, 7 months, we have got a lead of about 15 percentage point over the BJP. Now, Prime Minister will come and he will definitely reduce that gap by 5%, by 7%. But he cannot just overcome the entire 15% and give a lead to the BJP.
True.
You should be looking at Prime Minister's impact in the bigger picture.
शंकर, ये बीजेपी इस फिनोमेना को कैसे देख रही है? क्योंकि मतलब जैसे हम पहले भी बात कर रहे थे, प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी का वो लग रहा था कि वो डिपेंड कर रहे हैं कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी आके पूरा चुनाव उनकी तरफ कर देंगे। तो अभी भी क्या गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ऐसा सिमिलर स्ट्रेटजी हम देख सकते हैं इन द अपकमिंग स्टेट इलेक्शंस, या फिर कुछ चेंज होगा? आर दे रीथिंकिंग दिस स्ट्रेटजी?
देखिए, आप देखिए कि बीजेपी चुनाव क्यों जीतती है। व्हाट आर द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ बीजेपी? सबसे पहला हिंदुत्व, प्राइम मिनिस्टर की पॉपुलैरिटी, प्राइम मिनिस्टर की इमेज, प्राइम मिनिस्टर का क्लाउड। थर्ड इज इलेक्शन विनिंग मशीन, जो बीजेपी का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सेटअप है। और जो फोर्थ है वो डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म, जिसको बेनिफिशियरी हम कहते हैं। किसी भी इलेक्शन में अगर इसमें से 3 कंपोनेंट चल जाए, बीजेपी वहां पे चुनाव जीत जाती है। ये अगर कोई भी कहता है, अगर ममता बनर्जी आज की तारीख में ये कह रही हैं कि अब कर्नाटक के बाद मोदी का सुपड़ा साफ हो जाएगा और यहाँ से हार की शुरुआत हो रही है, तो इससे सुपरफिशियल कोई रियोटेरिक नहीं हो सकता। हिंदुत्व उस स्टेट में चलता है जहां पे आपका डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म भी उतना ही स्ट्रांग हो। मसलन की यूपी में अगर डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म आपका स्ट्रांग है तो योगी आदित्यनाथ का हिंदुत्व काम करेगा। लेकिन कर्नाटक में इसलिए हिंदुत्व काम नहीं कर रहा है क्योंकि आपका डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म में ही फॉल्ट है। वहां पे प्रधानमंत्री के आवास योजना में मकान लेने के लिए भी 50,000 का घूस देना पड़ रहा है। तो जहां पे आपकी डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म में प्रॉब्लम होगी, करप्शन इन्वॉल्व हो जाएगा, वहां पे हिंदुत्व काम नहीं करेगा। जहां पे हिंदुत्व भी काम करेगा वहां पे डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म भी अच्छा है। जहां पे बीजेपी की इलेक्शन विनिंग जो मशीन है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सेटअप अच्छा है, वहाँ की लोकल लीडरशिप स्ट्रांग है, तो ये सारे फैक्टर मिलकर बीजेपी को चुनाव में जीत दिलाते हैं। अब कर्नाटक में 2 प्रॉब्लम थी, डिलीवरी मैकेनिज्म खराब था, लोकल लीडरशिप। आपने एक लिंगायत को ऐसे व्यक्ति को बनाया, येदियुरप्पा को हटा के, जो कि येदियुरप्पा लिंगायत का सबसे बड़ा नेता है, उसकी पॉपुलैरिटी है, उसकी पॉपुलैरिटी खत्म नहीं हुई थी, वो उसकी गवर्नेंस में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी। लेकिन आपने जनरेशन शिफ्ट करने के लिए एक ऐसे व्यक्ति को बनाया जिसका कि जो लिंगायतों के वोट को ट्रांसलेट नहीं करा सकता। तो आपकी लोकल लीडरशिप में प्रॉब्लम थी, वहां पे इनफाइटिंग थी, कैबिनेट में सारे मिनिस्टर एक दूसरे के खिलाफ स्टेटमेंट देते थे, चाहे मुरुगेश निरानी हो या फिर सुधाकर हो, ये सारे लोग एक दूसरे के खिलाफ बयानबाजी। कंट्रोल नहीं था कुल मिला के मुंबई का, चूंकि वो सोशलिस्ट बैकग्राउंड से आए थे, बीजेपी की इनर लीडरशिप से इवॉल्व नहीं हुए थे। बजरंग दल कुछ और कह रहा है, येदियुरप्पा का बजरंग दल वाले भी, येदियुरप्पा अगर कुछ कहते तो बजरंग दल वाले चुप हो जाते थे, क्योंकि वो येदियुरप्पा उस ग्राउंड से, वहां से निकले थे, आरएसएस के कैडर से निकले थे। तो कर्नाटक में ढेर सारी प्रॉब्लम थी। लेकिन आने वाले जो स्टेट इलेक्शन है वहां पे भी आप देखें कि जो कांग्रेस की सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ कर्नाटक में क्या थी कि जो बीजेपी का रूल बुक है, जो कॉपी बुक है, उसी को उन्होंने कॉपी पेस्ट कर दिया था। जिस ढंग से सोशल मीडिया कैंपेनिंग होती है, जिस ढंग से कांग्रेस ने बिल्कुल वैसा किया जो बीजेपी दूसरे स्टेट में करती है। छत्तीसगढ़ में बीजेपी का कांग्रेस का जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सेटअप है वो बहुत मजबूत है। वहां पे चीफ मिनिस्टर वो राम गमन पथ से लेके सब कुछ बनवा रहे हैं। तो बीजेपी के हिंदुत्व का उन्होंने कॉपी पेस्ट कर दिया है। वहां पे उनकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल सेटअप मजबूत है। बीजेपी की लीडरशिप, जो लोकल लीडरशिप है, रमन सिंह अपने करियर के ढलान पे हैं। रमन सिंह के मुकाबले कोई दूसरी जो लीडरशिप है वो रमन सिंह की जगह नहीं ले सकती, ले पा रही है, तो वहां पे मुश्किलें हैं। मध्य प्रदेश में शिवराज सिंह चौहान अपने इस टेनियर के बाद भी, चौथी टेनियर के बाद भी उनकी पॉपुलैरिटी पूरी तरह से खत्म नहीं हुई है इस समय, वो अपनी जगह पे मजबूत हैं। वहां पे अगर बीजेपी थोड़े बहुत जो लोकल चैलेंजेस हैं उसको पूरा कर ले तो बीजेपी वहां पे चुनाव निकाल सकती है। राजस्थान में कांग्रेस की बुरी हालत है, तो राजस्थान में बीजेपी के लिए अपर हैंड है। तो ये सारे फैक्टर अगर तीनों स्टेट में काम करेंगे तो बीजेपी चुनाव को जीत सकती है। लेकिन अगर आप तीनों स्टेट इलेक्शन को फिर दिल्ली के नेशनल इलेक्शन की तरह लड़ेंगे, जो मध्य प्रदेश की जो लोकल प्रॉब्लम है उसको एड्रेस नहीं करेंगे, उसको आप हिंदुत्व के एजेंडे पे ले जाएंगे लेकिन डिलीवरी को ठीक नहीं करेंगे, तो फिर बीजेपी के लिए मुश्किलें होंगी।
Last question to both Professor Singh, you and DK before we wrap up. There's Aditya, who's a subscriber, is asking if the JDS, as we discussed, their vote share percentage has come down from 18% to 13%. Is the JDS heading the BSP way? So that's the question, Professor Singh, if I could have you on that first.
Well, too early to say all this. The first lesson that we must understand is that in a democracy, it's difficult and it is not required that we write off parties just because they have won one or lost one, right? It's a wheel of fortune. One who's vanquished today, tomorrow becomes a victor tomorrow. So let's not draw those conclusions. Having said that, the trend is also very clear. The clear trend that I see is that the elections in the states in India is becoming bipolar in that sense, right? So there might be many players while in the states, but in any given election, the contest invariably will be between two parties, right? That's what happened in UP, for example. You have Samajwadi, you have BSP and other factors, but remember in any election, it will be between two parties, right? Sometimes, remember, in old days, BSP would go up and then Samajwadi would go down, but the contest will be between two parties, or contest would be between BSP and the SP when the BJP was not a major player. Similarly, in Bihar, you'll see that, right? So my understanding is that, because in any election, two major parties make or break the narrative, that's how it's happening in the states at this point. The JDS will have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to introspect, though. Regional parties thrive. I mean, every party thrives in power. Every party wants to be in power. But when it comes to regional parties, the thirst is far more, because remember, it's only in power that they can save the fiefdom, right? So I think the JDS will have to do a lot of introspection, because the base that the JDS has, at least the elections tell us that the results are telling us that that base is now split, and a lot has moved towards the Congress, right? The Congress has been a sufferer of these things happening to them from the past. In the past, I mean, look at Aam Aadmi Party, for example, right? It has gained heavily by getting a lot of support from the Congress, right? So JDS will have to work on its strategies. I don't write off political parties because you never know. One spark on a local issue can ignite it to that and flare it up to that level where it becomes a major player back again.
DK?
I agree with him. You cannot write any party off, but thing is, look at the trend. BSP, if you look at all the past elections, BSP was getting 22%, 20% vote share in every election, Lok Sabha assembly election. For the first time, you see that dropping to about 13% in the last assembly election. Similarly, JDS would always get around 18 to 20% in all elections. After a long time, you see that vote share dropping. That is a very alarming signal for these parties, and they need to learn from the BJP. The BJP, whenever you become complacent that you have a set vote bank, a loyal vote bank, and with that vote bank, you can remain stable and think of growing. That's not possible. JDS has remained a Vokaliga party with some sprinkling of Muslim votes. Similarly, BSP again remained a Dalit party with a few additions here and there from the Muslim votes, although that Brahmin experiment happened way back in 2007. But after that, that complacency has set in, and that's getting reflected in the results. Because there are other stakeholders. Look how BJP transformed itself. You cannot call it a Baniya Thakur party anymore. BJP is totally inclusive. Its vote bank is spread all over, into all sections. BJP expanded itself. But these parties, instead of expanding, they are actually shrinking because of the limited vote bank. And of course, there are others who are trying to eat into your vote bank. Now, other parties are not static. You are static with your vote bank, but others who are more ambitious, more expansionist, would start eating into your vote bank. If you remain complacent, you don't want to expand, you don't try to expand, this is what is going to happen to you. So we will not write them off, but if they continue with the same attitude and approach, well, you never know.
No, Ishadrita, I think he's bang on correct, because you'll also see that there's a generational change in the way the kind of new voters have come up, right? I mean, this whole idea of loyalty, the whole idea of identity was good enough for people like us. I mean, all those who were born till the 1970s, sorry to give you my age. But the fact is that today's voter is more transactional, right? It says, aap kya de rahe ho? हम क्या दे सकते हैं, right? So it's a clear-cut situation everywhere. I mean, no longer can you think that elections will be won only by appealing to a caste, one particular identity. It used to happen in the 1970s, continued till almost the Mandal era, 1990s. Today, the politics is very transactional, right? There are layers of caste. I'm not saying caste does not play a role. Caste plays a role, but there are plus factors. Religion plays a role, but just religion will not play a role. There will be plus factors, right? I mean, this was introspecting, and I think that any strong campaign that any political party launches will have to look into issues of leadership, will have to look into issues of campaign structure, process, both on digital, social, other media. Will have to have clear-cut issues, will have to stand firm on those issues, will have to have delivery mechanisms, will have to have some lucrative things to offer, and as it is, all this have to be enveloped and embalmed by larger narratives. That is how elections will happen, at least in the next 5-6 years that I see forward.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Shankar. Thank you, DK, for joining us. So this is our last live episode that we have on the Karnataka elections. I hope you liked our coverage throughout the day. We, of course, are still analyzing all those numbers, analyzing the elections from all quarters and getting you all those reports. Please keep an eye out for those on our website. Thank you so much for watching.